6 o'clock. Good evening. Here is the news at 6 on Impact Business Radio, Ibr92.5.FM. The headlines. Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria tells INEC to delete database of child voters, dead persons ahead of the 2023 elections. World Bank says federal government poverty alleviation plan will fail without execution of important policies. Court fixes May 18 to decide Kanu's bail request. UNICEF calls for the prioritization of foundational level of education in Nigeria. On the foreign scene, the spokesman admits significant Russian losses. Now the news in details. I am Amutajero. Rights advocacy group, the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, has tasked the Independent National Electoral Commission to remove the names of dead persons and child voters from its voter register ahead of the 2023 general elections. In a statement by its national coordinator, Emmanuel Onwobiko, the group stated that if the names of child voters and dead persons are not removed, it will be produced fraudulent polls come 2023. The group argued that child voting and the presence of dead persons in the INEC database will encourage rigging and vote buying by money-backed politicians who desperately want to occupy elective offices in 2023. This call comes on the heels of a statement by the Commission's chairman of the Information and Voter, Festus Okoye, that the names of dead voters and child voters cannot be removed from the voter register due to the absence of reliable data of birth and death. According to a timetable released by INEC, the Presidential and National Assembly elections will be held on Saturday, the 25th of February 2023, followed by the governorship and state assembly elections on Saturday, 11th March 2023. Huriwa urged the Electoral Commission to put in more work, stating that the announcement in itself is not enough to bring about a clean and credible voter register. As the 2023 general elections draw near, stakeholders have called for the emergence of a third force political party. They called for the creation and emergence of a new political party that is driven by ideas and people-oriented. Ayodele Fakeye, the report.
Nigeria's political sphere has once again come to the spotlight just as dramatic events continue to unfold as the 2023 general elections draw nearer, with a renewed clamor for a third force political platform. Among many is a professor of political economy, Professor Pat Utomi, who said Nigeria needs a new political movement driven by ideas ahead of the 2023 general election, noting that the new political movement will be formed soon.
Look at where our country stands on every measure of performance. It's at the bottom. With the kind of talent we have, that's not acceptable. So we begin to think there's need to reassess, to ask ourselves, how can we get out of this pit that we seem to have somehow dug for ourselves? And one clear way to do is to have another party. The so-called major parties that exist presently are two sides of the same coin. So let's call that one party. It's meant for personal wranglings. If you are tired of what you've been given in this group, you move to the other group. If they don't treat you well personally, not about Nigeria, not about the future of the youth of Nigeria, you go to the other side to see if you can get something more. I think Nigerians have had enough of that. Then we need another real political movement driven by ideas.
Also reacting to the call for a third force, a professor of governance and public policy, Professor Remi Ayede, said the emergence of a third force seems like a mirage, as it usually comes before an electioneering period.
I think people should go and join PDP or join APC and see what changes they can bring about from within. If we are committed to a third force, then let the commitment be sustained. It shouldn't be when another round of general election is approaching, we start making noise about third force. APC, PDP, and been built and sustained over time. And we must find ways and means of also spending our time and effort over a period of time in order to be able to make an impact. If we think that at any time the general election is coming, that's when we come out and make some noise about the third force. We are not going to go anywhere. So I think if they are really serious about the third force, they should be thinking about 2027.
On his part, a public affairs analyst, Ibr92.5FM, said, although Nigeria needs an alternative political party, its ideology must be totally different from the ideologies of the existing political parties.
Nigeria needs alternative political party. And what I mean by alternative political party, it is a party that is different in orientation, in philosophy, and political programs from all of the pro-capitalist political party we have across board today. Because I said we want to fool ourselves. All the party we have in the country today are capitalist political party. And it is on that basis that we see all of them to be one political party. And there's no way the interest of Nigerian students, the interest of Nigerian workers, the interest of Nigerian youth, the interest of Nigerian poor people can be met and satisfied by any government formed by any of these political parties.
As elections draw close, Nigerians no doubt deserve parties that are not only generating answers to the country's complex problems, but are also engaging its citizens about the best way forward. Ayodele Fakeye, Impact Business Radio News.
The World Bank has said that the federal government's plan to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years will not succeed if it does not carry out the execution of policies aimed at keeping adolescent girls in schools and also provide opportunities in the labor market. This is as it expressed hope that the federal government's plan will not fall away. The country director of the World Bank Nigerian chapter, Shubham, said this during the launch of a policy note on supporting adolescent girls in Abuja. He noted that while it is good to be ambitious, the policy environment for human capital development and job opportunities in the labor market is more crucial. Added that Nigeria is sitting on a ticking demographic time bomb because government at both the federal and the state levels have failed to heed previous dire warnings that the country's exponential population growth might develop into a social disaster. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has said that achieving basic learning outcomes at the foundational level of education should be prioritized if the learning crisis in Nigeria must be addressed. The Global Humanitarian and Developmental Aid Agency echoed the word of the World Bank that the country is experiencing a learning poverty in which 70% of 10-year-olds cannot understand a simple sentence or perform basic numeracy tasks. The organization, in a statement, described education as one of the fundamental human rights of children and well articulated in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. President Muhammadu Buhari has, in a written communication to the House of Representatives, formally sought for an increase in the 2022 budget deficit to be financed through borrowings from the domestic market. The move, which will further add to Nigerians' already huge debt profile, is coming few days after the Debt Management Office, DMO, released a schedule of the federal government's 720 billion domestic borrowing plan of the second quarter of 2022. Taiwo Olariwaju completes the report.
President Muhammadu Buhari has, in a written communication to the House of Representatives, formally sought for an increase in the 2022 budget deficit to be financed through borrowings from the domestic market. The move, which will further add to Nigeria's already huge debt profile, the government's 220 billion naira domestic borrowing plan for the second quarter of 2022. Speaking with Impact News correspondent, a public affairs analyst, Oluwaseyi Ajayi, said the borrowings should not be coming at a time when the country is in a serious debt. He also decried that the previous borrowings were not used for the purpose meant for.
That they are borrowing before, where is it? So it's not a news now. If they are talking that they want to go and borrow money, even it's not useful for Nigeria for nowadays. All Nigerians should be praying now because the situation we are now, we need prayer.
On his part, Christian Christopher lamented that the president does not have good advisors. According to him, borrowing to finance a deficit budget is not a welcome idea.
He does not have good advisors. Borrowing is meaningless to us. We borrow money for infrastructure. We borrow money to develop things that will yield fruitful results in the future. We are borrowing money to service budget deficit. It is wrong. I don't think he has a good advisor.
Christopher added that it would have been good if the borrowings are meant for infrastructural development in the country.
If you are borrowing money to settle ASU, it's very important because students, the work ASU, the work they do to Nigeria is to impart knowledge to students. Imparting knowledge to students will yield fruitful results in future. If he's borrowing money for infrastructure or borrowing money to develop one particular thing that will yield fruitful results, it is better. Borrow the money is like you are creating more problem for incoming government. The person that will take over from 2023, you are creating more problem for the person. We don't need to borrow.
The federal government has been criticized by many Nigerians for borrowing heavily, with a large number of citizens afraid that the country will not be able to pay back the loans. Taiwo Olariwaju, Impact Business Radio News.
The wife of the Oyo State Governor, Tamunominini Makinde, has called on the people of Oyo State, especially women and the youth, to look inward and identify potentials that can generate income and add value to the state. She made the remark during the opening ceremony of Adire Market Week, hosted by the wife of the Ogun State Governor, Mrs. Bamidele Dapo Abiodun. Anu Akomolafe has details.
The event was to showcase the rich cultural heritage and celebrate the Adire Market Week. Dignitaries, Kremlado such as ex-President Olusegun Obasanjo, former Governor of Ogun State Olusegun Oshoba, wife of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mrs. Gbajabiamila, the wife of the Governor of Oyo, Lagos, Edo, among others, showed up to be part of the colorful event. Addressing the people, the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, described Adire fabric as a unique cultural outfit which has helped to reduce poverty, aid employment, and provided window for economic diversification.
Of the production of Adire and its value chain that has created employment opportunities, has alleviated poverty, and also by so doing ensures food security. At the macroeconomic level, we believe that as we look inwards to diversify from a mono-economic system, our culture with its special arts and crafts, fabrics, which Adire also symbolizes, provides another window of economic diversification.
The wife of the Oyo State Governor, Mrs. Tamunominini Makinde, appreciated Mrs. Dapo Abiodun for protecting the rich cultural tradition of the Ogun indigenes. She pointed out that the Oyo State government will also improve on the resources and skills it has, not just to empower people at the grassroots alone, but to also improve the economy of the state.
Looking what do we have? For example, Ogun State, they're looking in what? They have Adire. Oyo State, what do we have? Ashoke, Adire, other things, pot making, drum making. We can look inward and promote what we have, turn it a trade, work with the government, look at the resources, and empower people at the grassroots to get more work for people.
The wife of the Lagos State Governor and her counterpart, wife of the Edo State Governor, as well as the wife of the Speaker, House of Representatives, took turn to harp on the need to promote the rich Yoruba cultural heritage and the Adire fabric.
It has been a very impressive and laudable initiative that my dear sister.
We should take it up to the level where it will be institutionalized. There will be the University of Nigeria, so please take note of that. Very, very important.
We have a lot to do in the country, especially in the economic development. So if we introduce it into the schools and the children learn it, I'm sure poverty will start to be a thing of the past in Nigeria.
Participants wore beautiful designs and shades of adire fabric, and entertainers added color to the event. For the people of Ogun State, adire will now be part of the school uniform, and workers will be encouraged to wear adire outfits at least once a week. Anu Akomalafe, Impact Business Radio News.
The governor of Enugu State, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, has approved the appointment of 6 monarchs in the State Traditional Rulers Council. The appointments were announced in a statement issued by the Commissioner of Chieftaincy Matters, Charles O.C. Egungbe. Egungbe stated that Igwe Godwin Imboeze Mado of Enugu-Ago, Oji River Local Government Area, was appointed as a 3rd Deputy Chairman of Enugu State Traditional Rulers Council, as well as a Chairman of Enugu West Zone Traditional Rulers Council. According to the statement, Governor Ugwuanyi equally approved the appointment of Mike of Inyi, Oji River Local Government Area, as the Chairman of the Oji River Local Government Traditional Rulers Council. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has fixed May 18 to rule on an application filed by the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, to be released on bail pending the determination of the treasonable felony charge the federal government entered against him. Justice Binta Hinyak adjourned the rule on the application after she heard argument from Kanu's lawyer, Mike, and the prosecution counsel Shoaib Labaran, while Ozokomen argued that his client is entitled to bail considering the fact that he still enjoys the presumption of innocence under the 1999 Constitution. As amended, the federal government's lawyer Labaran urged the court to decline the bail request. The prosecution maintained that Kanu betrayed the previous discretion the court exercised in his favor when he jumped bail and escaped from the country. Meanwhile, before the case was adjourned till 18th and 26th of May, Justice Inyank dismissed Ozekome's contention that Kanu's extraordinary rendition was illegal. She stressed that there is a subsisting warrant from the court for the arrest of the defendant wherever he was found. Stakeholders in the campaign against female genital mutilation have called on government at all levels to introduce measures that will trigger exposure of any activity in that regard. The call was made at a stakeholders capacity building organized in Oshogbo, the Osun State capital, for staff of government agencies, media practitioners, and other relevant stakeholders to broaden their perspective on female genital mutilation. Stakeholders were admonished to step up sensitization for security operatives and work in synergy on adequate implementation of extant laws at the state and federal level. Speaking on the laws against the acts, the State Ministry of Justice, Kayode Titiloye, cited Section 335 of the Criminal Code of Osun State, which provides that any person who unlawfully does grievous harm to another is guilty of a felony and is liable to imprisonment for 7 years.
That Section 335 penalizes grievous bodily harm with 7 years. Another Section 338 subsection 1, wounding of any person attracts 3 years jail term. You agree with me that female genital mutilation or cutting, FGM, is a grievous bodily harm to the private part of the victim, and in the least, it's a wound inflicted.
The Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Amutajero, has described the poor funding of the health sector in Nigeria, describing it as an hindrance to the country's attainment of the universal health coverage target at the World Health Organization. Obasa spoke recently at a two-day health program organized by the House in conjunction with the Legislative Advocacy Initiative for Sustainable Development, which is aimed at enhancing the capacities of legislators and key stakeholders in the health sectors of Lagos State as part of moves to help Nigerians meet the universal health coverage. He noted that the biggest challenge facing the health sector in Nigeria is lack of adequate financing. Governor Chukwuma Soludo of Anambra State has described the recent attacks in the state as an act of mindless criminality by a bunch. Soludo was reacting to the harassment that was carried out in the Agoata local government area secretariat. The governor said that the act was carried out by fleeing criminals who had been sacked from their operational camp by joint operations of Nigerian security forces. He noted that the military operations around the borders of Agwelezuchukwu and Oboroji communities in the council had led to the dislodging of the arsonists who had operated for about 2 years. He also revealed that information gotten from those arrested revealed that they were not from Anambra. Soludo therefore called on genuine agitators to embrace the olive branch extended to them by coming out of the forest and dropping their guns for rehabilitation. He warned that anybody in the bush with guns will be regarded as a criminal and treated as one. He vowed that there will be no hiding place for criminals in Anambra State, as the people of the state are determined to recover their space and enthrone peace for livable, conducive, and prosperous economic activities. Over now to Oluwayemisi Okpeodu for more business stories.
In business, the revelation of the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, that Nigeria has lost over $1.5 billion to oil theft between January till date has continued to generate different reactions. In an interview with Impact News crew, financial analyst Abiola Ali and Tunde Adegboye said this revelation is not surprising, adding that activities of the Nigeria petroleum industry has been shrouded in secrecy.
Other people, it will serve as deterrent to other people. People will not continue to do the same thing. Because the more you do, it's a leakage on the economy of Nigeria. If the crude oil that's supposed to be useful to us, that's supposed to be taken to other countries for us to refine, is being stolen, it's a leakage. It's a big leakage to the country, to the economy of the country. Because the money that you are supposed to generate from that, you won't generate it from it. So, but if you are covering them up, what it means is that you're also a collaborator. You're also supporting that act. And of course, you don't have any reason to complain.
Are these thieves? Are these thieves? Are they common men? Are they men with no substance? Are they poor people like you and I, who doesn't have the logistics, who doesn't have the connection, he doesn't have they know about how this thing goes? Who are they selling it to? That's not even the point now. The people who are stealing our oil, does the government want to say doesn't know them?
They also suggested possible solution to this problem.
It's like you are seeing somebody vandalize a NEPA transformer or whatever. Somebody doesn't know anything about electricity. Can he go there and steal cable and still remove transformer? It's not possible.
People have reported several times, but nothing has been done. So that shows that is it that the government is also involved in this act? Is it that some officials of the government are involved in these illicit affairs, or they are in support of what these people are doing? Because if they are not in support of what they are doing, I expect them to bring them to book.
The belief is that if these economic leakages can be blocked, Nigeria may not have cause to borrow as much as it is presently. That ends the business segment for today. I am Oluwayemisi Okpeodu.
Thank you, Oluwayemisi. Now over to our editorial review for today with Samson Omotosho.
The Punch newspaper editorial for today focuses on the rate of unemployment among Nigerians' youth. The paper echoes statements of the Secretary of the National Board for Technical Education, Mohammed Bugaji, that there are dangers of having millions unemployed youth in a country. It laments the fact that youth unemployment has a negative impact on the country's economic growth and development if left unchecked. The paper concludes by admonishing the government to pull out from all commercial ventures and embark on a program of transparent, corruption-free privatization. It also urged state governments to concentrate on rural infrastructure, education, and small enterprises so that jobs will be available for the people. On its part, the Tribune newspaper editorial for today takes a look at the vandalism of the Abuja Stadium by angry fans of the Super Eagles. The paper recalls that angry fans of the Nigerian Super Eagles descended on the recently refurbished Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja, destroying everything in sight after the Black Stars of Ghana ended Nigeria's dream of becoming the first African country to qualify for 4 consecutive World Cup and FIFA CAF anti-doping officer Dr. Joseph Kabungo. It therefore called on the Minister of Youth and Sports Development to investigate the remote and immediate causes of the Super Eagles' failure, which comes after similar disappointment at the African Cup of Nations AFCON. It also called on the attention of the officials to guard against similar occurrences in the future. That ends the editorial review for today from some of our national dailies. My name is Samson Omotosho. Good evening.
Thank you, Samson. Kenny Bamidele is standing by with stories from the exciting world of sport.
In sport, the president of Nigeria Football Federation, Amaji Pinnick, has made it clear that he won't be running for a 3rd time in office due to family pressure. Recall that Pinnick has come under heavy criticism to resign as NFF president after the Super Eagles failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. In an interview, the former Delta State Sport Administrator stated that his time in the glass house has taken a toll on his relationship with his family. He said that he will step aside after his tenure comes to an end later this year. Meanwhile, Victor Osimhen trained with his Napoli teammate this morning and will be available for Sunday's Serie A clash against Fiorentina. Osimhen left training early on Wednesday after picking up an injury. Test carried out on the player yesterday confirmed that he had not suffered a severe injury. The 23-year-old also assured Napoli fans on social media he would be available for the game. The Nigerian international, according to Football Italia, trained with his teammate this morning, and the striker scored 15 goals in 25 appearances across all competition for the Partenope this season. Napoli are 1 point behind table toppers AC Milan with just 7 games remaining in the season. In the English Premier League, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has labelled Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola the best coach in the world ahead of Sunday's Premier League showdown with the citizens. The Red head into the Etihad battle only 1 point behind the reigning champions in the table only a couple of months after the Premier League title was seemingly a foregone conclusion. In an interview, Klopp called Manchester City boss Pep the best in the world.
Pep is the best coach in the world. I think we all would agree on that. And it might be a coincidence that it didn't work out so far in the Champions League or whatever, but the thing is, he won the football he plays. There's no, if anybody doubts him, then I have no idea how that could happen. And now we all think a lot. That's the reason why we make sometimes mistakes in
Stadium. The Citizens' most recent Premier League game saw them record a 2-0 victory at Burnley, and they also saw Atletico Madrid in the first leg of the Champions League in the midweek. Meanwhile, Liverpool beat Watford by the same scoreline last weekend, and their midweek meeting with Benfica at the Estadio da Luz ended in a 3-1 success. For Austria to take his nation a step closer to qualifying for the World Cup since 1958. And lastly in sport, in Formula 1, Charles Leclerc headed Red Bull's Max Verstappen in today's practice at the Australian Grand Prix. Leclerc ended the season 0.25 seconds ahead of Dutchman, who appeared to have the potential to go faster had it not been for the traffic and some errors. The second Ferrari of Carlos Sainz was 0.398 seconds off the pace in 3rd place ahead of Fernando Alonso's Alpine, impressively competitive in 4th. Mercedes driver George Russell and Lewis Hamilton were only 11th and 13th. And that is all we have for you in the world of sport. I am Kenny Bamidele. Good evening.
On the foreign scene, Russia has admitted suffering significant losses of troops in Ukraine as the invasion enters its 44th day. The presidential spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, told newsmen that the casualties were national laws. He, however, expressed hope that Moscow will reach its war goals in the coming days. His comment followed Russia's expulsion from the United Nations Human Rights Council earlier this week. It will be recalled that some 93 of the 193 members of the United Nations General Assembly voted in favor of the diplomatic rebuke, which followed allegations of mass human rights abuses by Russian troops in the formerly occupied town of Bucha in northern Ukraine. To end the news, another look at the major items. Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria tells INEC to delete database of child voters, dead persons ahead of 2023 election. World Bank says federal government poverty alleviation plan will fail without execution of important policies.